Good morning. My name is Hector Omi Martinez Rosado, Procurement Division Director for the Community Development Block Grant, Disaster Recovery and Mitigation Programs. In this pre-RFQ meeting, we are going to discuss the request for qualifications number CDBG-DR RFQ 2026-01 for the inspection services under the Community Development Block Grant for Disaster Recovery and Mitigation Program portfolios, among other federally funded initiatives. I would like now to introduce the Puerto Rico Department of Housing personnel. Along with me is Karen Canales Virriel, Procurement Official, Catherine Chacon Ramirez, Procurement Official, and Carla Jimenez Perez from the Federal Compliance Division. Any questions submitted in this meeting will be answered in writing and published in an addendum. The information provided in this meeting does not change the terms and conditions established in the request for qualifications instructions. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the CDBG-DR YouTube channel. Regarding the procurement manual and contractual requirements, all procurement process shall be conducted in accordance with the terms and conditions established in the procurement manual for the CDBG-DR, CDBG-MIT, and CDBG state programs to guarantee full and open competition and fair treatment for all persons or entities involved in each procurement process. The procurement manual is available on the CDBG-DR website, incorporated by reference and made an integral part of this request for qualification. Now we are going to have an explanation of the scope of services. The PRDOH is issuing an inspection services qualification-based selection process, CDBG-DR RFQ 2026-01. The participating programs in this RFQ is the Community Development Block Grants Disaster Recovery, or DR, and Mitigation, or MIT. This RFQ process will evaluate and rank inspection firms for a shortlist or qualified respondents that will be eligible for future contract negotiations with PRDOH and its subrecipients. All inspection services must be performed in compliance with Act number 173 for August 12, 1983, as amended, also known as the Act of Puerto Rico Examining Board of Engineers, Architects, Surveyors, and Landscapers, and Act number 164-2009 as amended, also known as the General Corporations Act. Firms on this RFQ may be eligible for subsequent negotiations, interviews, contract discussions, and award as future procurement opportunities arise under PRDOH qualification-based selection process. Placements of these SHOQR opens door to future work, but it does not guarantee any work or constitute a binding commitment until a contract is fully executed. Priority consideration, higher-ranked firms are invited to negotiate first. Non-binding placement on the list is valid. On this list is valid for 3 years with up to 2 one-year extensions. And no minimum services guaranteed. There is no assurance or any minimum level of service that may be requested. Contracts resulting from a QBS shall not exceed the duration of the HUD, CDBG-DR, and CDBG-MIT grants unless HUD grants an extension to said grants. The staffing requirements and qualification. The selected respondents must ensure the inspection services are performed by licensed professionals with the proper qualifications, skills, and experience necessary, according to applicable federal, state, and local rules and regulations. Refer to the RFQ documents for detailed staff requirement and qualification requirements. Based on a specific project's scope of work, or SOW, the selected respondent shall demonstrate its key staff and subcontract staff meet the requirements and have the necessary experience and knowledge to successfully implement the inspection services. PRDOH reserve the right to modify any requirements, including education, experience, and professional certifications and licensing. Also, PRDOH reserves the right to modify the roles and responsibility and add or remove positions depending on the specific scope, scales, complexity of each select project. All key staff must be located in Puerto Rico when performing work under a resulting contract. By submitting a statement of qualification in response to the RFQ, the respondent certifies that, if qualified, selected, and awarded, they will have the required key staff and specialized service staff available to perform the inspection services. Under the tasks of services, also the following are example of tasks the selected respondent may perform in support of construction projects, installation of photovoltaic system or PV, battery storage systems or BESS, water storage systems or WSS, or any other inspection activity assigned to by PRDOH. Under the construction projects, pre-construction inspection services, including but not limited to evaluation of project documents, site visits for preparation or existing condition site report, establishing communications strategies, verifying general contractor has all requirements to initiate work. Under the construction inspection services, they're going to assist PRDOH by performing site visits to evaluate and report physical progress, adherence deviations from construction documents, project schedules, permitting regulatory requirements, quality of work, contract documents, among others. Coordinate project activity for the timely completion of the project within budget, prepare detailed daily activity reports, manage field test results reports, evaluate proposals, change order, generate punch lists, direct and coordinate acceptance and delivery of the project. Under the installation of photovoltaic system or PV, the pre-installation assessment PAI review approve installer system determination based on the PIA report, evaluate the determinations of both interior and exterior home elements. Revise the PIP submitted by a program installer to the PRDOH grant management system, which include a commissioning report, drawing, and specifications, electric utility interconnection package, submittal, certifications, design team credentials, warranties to ensure completed work quality for final inspection. Final inspection of completed work to assess compliance of the work performed, including photographic evidence of the work per PRDOH format, assessment of materials and equipment. Also, submitting of report per PRDOH reporting format for each visit. Specialized inspection services required during any phase of the project related to the following fields: geotechnical, surveillance, structural, electrical, plumbing, environmental, or any other. That will be the scope of service for this RFQ. Now I pass with my colleagues from the PRDOH.
Thank you, Hector, for the information. Good morning, everyone. My name is Karen Canales, and I will explain where to acquire the RFQ documents and which are the important dates regarding this RFQ. I would like if someone can confirm if you can see the presentation on screen.
Yes, we see it, Karen.
Thank you. Regarding the acquisition of the RFQ documents, these will be available for download through the Agile platform. A link will be provided on the CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT website that will direct you to Agile to access the procurement documents as presented on screen. Please note that registration in Agile is required in order to download and review these documents, as well as to submit your proposal. To register, you must create an account by clicking Register. After completing all the required information for the proposing company, you will receive an email to complete your registration. If the validation email does not appear in your inbox, please check your junk or spam folder. To access the documents once registered, select All Procurement Processes. This will lead you to another page where you can view all active procurement processes available on the platform. Select View for the reference process, and a new page will open displaying the procurement process details. It is important that you select I am interested and click Save so that you may subsequently submit questions and your statement of qualifications. The RFQ package will be available for download under Procurement Documents. Please note that once you have selected I am interested and click Save, you may be able to locate the process from the main menu under My Responses, as displayed on screen. Now, we're going to provide information regarding the important dates for this RFQ. Submission of questions and requests for clarifications will have to be submitted on or before June 17, 2026 at 4 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. Responses to questions and requests for clarifications will be published on June 24, 2026. The statement of qualifications due date will be from July 13, 2026 at 9 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time up to July 15, 2026 at 4 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. The following steps are necessary to submit the inquiries and SOQs for this RFQ. Each potential respondent must submit all questions in writing on before June 17, 2026, as mentioned earlier, at 4 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time through the platform in the Questions and Submissions section. When the period for submitting questions is open, in accordance with the scheduled dates, the tab displayed on screen will be enabled to submit questions. You must, first, enter your question in the designated or designated field. Then, you must specify the section of the procurement package and the page number of the RFQ to which your question refers. Lastly, you will have to click the submission button. Once submitted, your question will appear in the table titled My Questions, along with the date and time it was submitted. After the deadline for submitting questions has passed, the three fields and the button mentioned above will no longer be visible. However, all submitted questions will remain visible in the My Questions table. Responses will be published through an addendum to the procurement process and will be included in the Procurement Documents tab. All documents related to this process, including addenda, issued by the Department of Housing, are and will remain available for download on the Agile platform. All respondents must review the aforementioned website to download any addenda issued for this procurement process, if applicable.
Thank you, Karen. Good morning. My name is Catherine Chacon, and I will explain how to submit your Statement of Qualifications, or SOQ. SOQs are to be submitted on the due date stated in Section 4.3 of this RFQ. Access to upload electronic SOQs will begin 3 business days prior to the scheduled time and due date. The responses to the RFQ submitted after the prescribed deadline will not be allowed. Submissions of responses pertaining to the RFQ will only be accepted by electronic means. Respondents are advised that the PRDOH will neither require nor accept physical SOQ submissions, whether by courier, FedEx, UPS, DHL, personal delivery, or similar physical means. As explained earlier, after completing the Agile platform registration and following the instructions that lead you to the inspection services under the procurement processes you must select the Submission Bid tab. Before submitting your SOQ, you must complete all required fields and upload all required documents. Once uploaded, the documents may be viewed at the bottom of the page. It is important to note that for your SOQ to be considered, you must click the Submit button after uploading all required documents. Regarding the evaluation criteria, the evaluation committee will evaluate based on the criteria outlined on the screen. The criteria below are listed in order of importance. The non-technical SOQ evaluation considers the following. The Procurement Division will evaluate all responsive SOQs to assess compliance with the administrative and eligibility requirements outlined in this RFQ. This evaluation includes reviewing the following sections. Section 6.1, mandatory requirements that include the following. 6.1.1 cover letter, 6.1.2 executive summary, 6.1.3 organizational documents, 6.1.4 financial requirements, 6.1.5 certifications, 6.1.6 authorization request, 6.1.7 key staff, which has a value of 10 points. Section 6.1.8 Certification Act 173 of 1988. Section 6.3 that refers to compliance with Section 3 and/or minority, women, and veteran enterprises has a value of 5 points preference. The SOQs that do not meet the mandatory requirements may be deemed non-responsive and excluded from further consideration. However, Section 6.3 regarding preference points will not be used as a basis for determining responsiveness. The technical SOQ evaluations considers the following. The evaluation committee will conduct a comprehensive evaluation of all responsive SOQs in a fair and impartial manner. The evaluation will be conducted following the evaluation process described in this RFQ and will include a review of the following sections. Section 6.2, qualifications of respondent, that includes the following. 6.2.1, respondents' organizational structure for a value of 10 points. Section 6.2.2, comparable projects for a value of 30 points. Section 6.2.3, experience and capabilities for a value of 50 points. Upon completion of the evaluation process, the evaluation committee shall establish a short list of qualified respondents. Only those SOQs determined to demonstrate the capability and qualifications necessary to successfully perform the required services as supported by the documentation submitted will be considered for inclusion on the short list of qualified respondents. Regarding SAM registration, responders and first-tier subcontractors must be registered in the System for Award Management, also known as SAM, at the time of the SOQ submission or initiate the registration process right after the SOQ submission. For more information, please visit the SAM website. There is no fee to create, renew, or update your registration. Awards will only be issued to entities that are cleared and not ineligible for award of a contract due to suspension, debarment, or HUD-imposed limited denial of participation. Now, we will leave you with the Federal Compliance Division for discussion of the federal compliance requirements.
Thank you, Catherine. Hi, my name is Carla Jimenez, and I will be talking about the Disaster Recovery Office Federal Civil Rights Compliance. We first thank you to the Procurement Division for the opportunity to present on compliance and labor standards requirements. This presentation is prepared in English. However, if it's required in Spanish, please submit a request following the procurement protocols. I am here today representing the Federal Compliance Team from the Department of Housing. Today, our agenda includes a discussion on the overview of compliance roles and responsibilities. We will also review the tools available on our website. Finally, we will cover documenting efforts, reporting requirements, and address frequently asked questions. The Procurement Language Section 3 package, the work to be performed under the contract resulting from this RFP may be subject to the requirements of Section 3 of the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968, as amended. Section 3 helps foster local economic development, neighborhood economic improvement, and individual self-sufficiency. It is PRDOH policy to require its subrecipients, contractors, subcontractors, and contractors of subrecipients to provide training and equal opportunity to low and very low income persons, particularly those who are recipients of government assistance for housing or residents of the community in which the federal assistance is spent, to the great extent feasible. The Department of Housing makes available a Section 3 policy guide on their website both in English and Spanish. Contractors must read and implement activities as applicable and necessary. They are also responsible for their subcontractors ensuring that benchmarks are met. For Section 3 projects, the 24 CFR Part 75 has established the following benchmarks. 25% of the total labor hours per project should be work hours by Section 3 workers. And within that 25%, 5% of the total labor hours should be work hours by targeted Section 3 workers. The Section 3 plan, contractor or subrecipient, this document template allows contractor or subrecipients to outline their strategies for meeting Section 3 hiring, training, and contracting goals. A Section 3 contractor plan template is available online on the PRDOH website in English or Spanish. This document also assists in identifying new hiring and subcontracting needs, helps plan outreach efforts, and supports coordinators in managing daily activities. This is the Section 3 self-certification forms. These document templates help individuals identify if they meet the requirements to be considered a Section 3 worker or Section 3 targeted worker. Contractors and subrecipients must make efforts to complete self-certification forms as part of their contracting and purchasing procedures, fulfilling their Section 3 business identification commitment. The businesses that are identified as Section 3 will be part of the database for dissemination of contracting and purchases opportunities. The work to be performed under the contract resulting from this RFP shall be subject to the regulations set forth in the CFR Section 200.321. This regulation requires the non-federal entity to take necessary steps to ensure that, when possible, all subrecipients, contractors, subcontractors, and/or developers funded with CDBG-DR or CDBG-MIT funds hire or provide economic opportunities to small and minority firms, women-owned business enterprises, veteran-owned businesses, and labor surplus area firms, consistent with Executive Orders number 11,625, 12,138, and 12.432. Non-federal entities shall make every feasible effort to ensure that small businesses, minority-owned businesses, WBEs, veteran-owned, or LSA businesses participate in contracting. There are various regulations that call for the inclusion of MWEs in the 2 CFR Part 200.321, as well as executive orders establish the participation of MWE firms, which seek to ensure that when possible, contracts and other economic opportunities funded in whole or in part with federal housing and community development assistance are directed to these minority businesses. The Department of Housing has established an MWE policy guide. This is also available on our website in English and Spanish. The MWE policy guide will identify that there are goals which apply to professional services, purchasing supplies, and construction contracting. There is a total minimum participation goal, which are 10% for women-owned businesses and 10% for minority-owned businesses. Contractors are expected to perform good faith efforts for contracting, subcontracting, and purchasing opportunities of $10,000 or more during the life of the contract. Let's look at the MWE utilization plan. This tool assists in compiling data for subcontracting purposes. It helps you identify what needs you may have. It helps hold discussions on creating supplier and contractor listings and provide awareness of meeting the goal for the contract percents. However, this utilization plan, effective on January 1st, 2026, it will no longer be required. These are the description of MWE companies. Minority Business Enterprises, or MBE, is defined as a business that is 51% or more owned, operated, and controlled on a daily basis by one or more U.S. citizens of ethnic minority and or gender and or military classifications or veterans. WBE is a business concern that is at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women. Must be U.S. citizens or legal resident aliens whose business formation and principal place of business are in the U.S. or its territories, and whose management and daily operation are controlled by women. When we talk about certified minority or women-owned businesses, we are referring to those who have filed applications with federal entities such as SBA, the Small Business Administration Agency, and others that you see here on the slide. Businesses who are certified can provide proof of completing an application process to be officially recognized as a certified minority or women-owned business. If you're registered as a MWBE, you should provide your valid certificate or other evidence in response to this RFP. As part of its obligations to the Department of Housing, the contractor or subrecipient must carry out compliance efforts during the term of the agreement or contract, which will be reported by submitting the quarterly federal compliance report. It is the duty of every organization to keep the preservation of documents updated according to the policy on document management, administration, and accessibility created in your organization. The Department of Housing has established a quarterly federal compliance report submission process through an online link available to subrecipients and contractors to complete and submit the required information. This form is the method for reporting quarterly compliance activity and efforts on Section 3 and MWB regulations. All subrecipients and contractors are expected to have a system for collecting updated information for reporting on this form. PRDOH requires quarterly submissions from all contractors to be submitted on April 5th, July 5th, October 5th, and January 5th. Let's briefly discuss if HEO, your RFP package will also contain a model contract which outlines fair housing and equal opportunity areas of compliance. Contractors are responsible for ensuring compliance with federal civil rights and fair housing through their contractors, subcontractors, and so forth, ensuring that all necessary efforts are being made. The Fair Housing Act and Sections 109 and 504 prohibit discrimination against the following protected classes of people: race, color, national origin, religion, sex, age, familiar status, disability, gender identity, and sexual orientation. The Fair Housing Act is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. There are many executive orders, laws, and statutes that govern the non-discrimination of protected classes to ensure equal opportunity for individuals in accessing federal funded programs. The equal opportunity is afforded to protected classes through a number of these federal laws and executive orders that you can see in the slide. PRDOH has published policy documents addressing HEO as well as language access plan. These policies must be implemented by contractors and subrecipients. They are publicly available online in both English and Spanish. As a recipient of HUD financial assistance, the Department of Housing must ensure that all programs affirmatively further access to fair housing and that the programs provide equal opportunity for participation and employment. Fair housing and equal opportunity also has the reasonable accommodations, RA, that are adjustments to a program policy, practice, or service that afford individuals with disabilities equal access to the program benefits. Section 504 requires federally funded programs provide requested RAs or RMs at the cost of the program to the extent that they are reasonable and address a verified disability-related need. Contractors that have 15 employees or more are required to have a 504 coordinator. The CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT reasonable accommodations policy provides requirements and guidance for evaluating this request. PRDOH supports programs in the handling and evaluation of this request. The Limited English Proficiency, or LEP, refers to persons' limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English. Due to Puerto Rico's high Spanish-speaking population, all entities and contractors using the CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT funding must seek to ensure both that a person's limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English or Spanish will not place them at disadvantages in the participation of programs. Thank you for your attention. Please remember to direct all of your questions through the established protocols for this procurement. Back to you. Yo me salí.
Thank you, Carla, and thank you all
You're
the
welcome.
PRDOH team. Thank you
Thank you.
for participating in this pre-RFQ meeting. We appreciate your time. Please remember that any questions submitted during this meeting will be answered in writing and published through an addendum. To learn how to navigate the Agilog platform, please refer to the instructional manual available on the CDBG website. We wish you a great day. Thank you.